this game is certainly feeling a bit more linear than the previous two Metroid Primes. But then it's not like I did anything to really sequence break in any of the previous Metroid titles we went through. So this game being a little on the linear side isn't all that much of an issue. If anything, more wide-open games like Skyrim and Assassin's Creed are a bit more intimidating for me to handle. Hell, I've yet to go back to the Assassin's Creed series, even though I only played through the first one, and I certainly feel that the series was pretty damn good up until Assassin's Creed 3. I've just yet to find the motivation or time to record Assassin's Creed 2 onwards, and it doesn't help that I've effectively given up on that franchise getting better after a certain point. Right. The first two locks opened here. And like with so many other puzzles in this series, the only way we could possibly get to the second is if we did the first before that. Bit more of a pain to scan the specific things I want to than I would like in this game. Wonder how much of that is because of the motion-controlled targeting system, and how much is because the game seems to like putting a lot of scannable things in a given room/area. Hell, it could be for both reasons. Or for a reason I just don't know about at the moment. Okay, probably not the best angle to try jumping onto the platform. It was worth a shot, though. And here's the angle we were supposed to try getting into that thing. And I somehow managed to screw that up, because first-person platforming is rather annoying to have to deal with. Okay, are those swarms of bat things spawning in because we're taking so long in this area? Not that they're dangerous, just that I keep feeling that we've cleared the area only for another dot to appear on our radar. Well, that's a fresh kind of enemy. Or at least new for this particular game. It's become a bit of a traditional enemy for the 3D Metroid games. Really don't get how explosive gas bags would be all that great an idea for creatures to evolve to. Seriously, this is the third damn planet we've seen these things on. And I'm sure there's going to be more in the other planets we fly to in this game. And we blatantly see more of those bat things show up while I'm hoping to kill the other group of bat things. Considering the amount of scanning I do, you'd think I'd care more to refer to the things we scan by their official names. But I only seem to do so for select bosses and especially annoying monster types. Oddly disappointed we didn't get hurt by ripping that ball into our own face. They'd be a lot easier to dodge if I wasn't trying to scan them. Okay, looks like we've got another fresh enemy to scan. Right. Of Of course, just about everything shoots Phazon in this game, because we want the especially mysterious power source to be incredibly common now that we've reached the finale of the trilogy. I can't help feeling that's a good way to make it feel less interesting overall. But then I suppose this game is supposed to do that sort of thing when we start getting all the explanations we would want for them. Bloody hell. Well, that wasn't much of a barrier, but we could still only get through there using hyper mode. Now, maybe I should have scanned it before destroying it. Well, at least they're only shooting acid at us instead of Phazon. The less we see of that, the more important it feels in my mind. It probably doesn't help that I will not like what the eventual explanation for Phazon is going to be in this game. I've seen better examples of what they're going for with it, and frankly, this game has to forget some of what happened in the previous games to make Phazon work the way they specifically wanted to in this game. I'll get more into detail later on when it feels like Samus is learning more about the substance based on what we're immediately seeing. Yeah, the charge beam certainly counts as disturbing the fuel. Well, it feels like it's been a while since we've grabbed an upgrade item around here, but then, I'm not sure I'm mentally counting the 2 energy tanks the game gave us without any real effort whatsoever. Okay, so we've got a big statue that's fallen over in here. I'm sure that is going to be relevant at some point. Much like the platform we pulled in the previous clip, we've got no real reason to not pull the panels in here. Sure, we won't be leaving the way we came just yet, but there's no harm in opening up that escape route while we're here. And with that done, we keep moving on. Okay, so the lizards are going to start being important now. I'm sorry, but it takes more than having 4 arms and being able to go invisible to make me feel intimidated. Mostly because we've dealt with a hell of a lot of threats in this franchise, some of them very, very scary. Anyway, these lizards are supposed to be the descendants of the locals that built all the ruins we've been running around in. Sorry, but I can't find that especially interesting considering all the other fallen civilizations we've run through. Well, that wasn't much of a barrier. Hell, I don't even see why the game bothered to give them a cutscene as they showed up there. But maybe I'm just too used to games making cutscenes for things that are especially important to the story, or quite cool looking. That was just there for the sake of being there. Okay, apparently there's nothing really over here at the moment. Our only way forward is lower. Huh. Why did they bother giving us a bit of a lock for us to be able to read some lore? I wouldn't even call it busy work, since it's not like it takes us long to finish it. It's just annoying, since again, this is entirely there simply because we have a motion control system in this game, and they wanted us to use it as often as possible. Well, we're pretty familiar with the Chozo and saved the Luminoth in the previous Metroid Prime. We haven't seen or heard anything about the Yilla in the entire franchise, though. It could just be a name they included for the sake of trying to make things seem larger than it actually is. Seriously, we've seen the pirates so many times and dealt with Chozo Ruin so much that it feels like they're the most common things around here. More bugs, and somehow the bugs felt more interesting to me in the first Metroid Prime. Possibly because it felt new to us at the time. Not that I'm against them reusing things when they work as intended, but still, felt worth mentioning. Okay, looks like we're gonna need to use the Morph Ball to get over there, since we can't do grapple swinging just yet. I suppose it's interesting that we had to let ourselves get trapped by a lot of small enemies to make progress here. Right, that's another missile upgrade for us. I know I've said this in each of the 3 Metroid Primes we've gone through, but I feel the missiles just aren't as important for us in the 3D games as they were in the 2D Metroids. Darn, that one felt close. Hard to tell though, since we can't see things all that clearly due to the root system in here. There we go. I'm sure there were easier ways to do it, but hey, if it works, then that's what's important. Right. More fuel gel for the sake of us blowing something up. And there's our ability to swing around, something we should have gained the moment we first had the grapple beam at all. Definitely easier to use that than the whole ripping panels off walls or shields from enemy hands, but then that's because I have a thing against the motion controls. Mostly because I'm someone who's been trying to emulate the controls after I lost the system this game was originally made for. Hell, the house I used to live in when I did have a Wii just doesn't even exist at this point. That's how much time has passed, and again, as fun as this game was back then, it wasn't good enough to make me suddenly like the Wii. It's actually kind of funny that I ended up giving up on the Nintendo company in general for a while after Metroid Other M, mildly regained faith in them after Fire Emblem 3 Houses, and then lost faith again with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet releasing in a kind of iffy state, even if the story was kind of good. Oddly disappointed we couldn't manage to swing our way back to the door. Okay, so another type of lizard enemy. short-range teleportation on top of the electric weapons and temporary invisibility. Yet this is still a minor enemy for us considering when we run into them and how few hits it takes to finish them. A minor enemy that I probably won't be able to differentiate from the other lizards all that much in the heat of the moment. Okay, so we've got another energy tank and another bit of lore to gain in here. Again, I can't help feeling we've been getting energy tanks too easily compared to the other Metroid Prime games. But then Metroid Prime 2 went out of its way to be as challenging as possible. At times to an absolutely bullshit degree, hence why I used Game Shark-style codes to finish the deal. Maybe this game is taking it easy on us as an apology for that mess. Now, I know I could have chosen to play the game on hard mode from the start to make things more interesting for me, but again, the game doesn't really change enough from one difficulty to the next to justify that in my mind. I think I'm just too spoiled by games like Halo. As a side note, a friend of mine who has never touched any Metroid game in his life took one look at one of the earlier clips of footage as I was working on the commentary and asked if this was some Halo ripoff game. If he had asked about either of the other two Metroid Primes, I would have considered that an innocent insult. But considering the way this game poorly started out, it is way too on point and just hilarious to me. Oh, for God's sakes, it is way too much of a pain to scan those fast-moving flyers considering all the other scannable things in the environment. Why am I getting the feeling that things are too cluttered in this game? Do I actually prefer how barren things felt in the previous two Metroid Primes? Because it should not feel like the bad thing that there are more various things for us to scan in a given environment. More in a given area for us to examine, learn about, and to help make things feel more alive. Hell, I do like that there's more to scan. But what I don't like is the fact that the scanning mechanics feel like they were purely designed for less cluttered environments. They probably needed to do more work on the lock-on accuracy in this game. But they probably felt they didn't need to work on that particular aspect because the motion controls mean you can shoot at any part of your opponent you want regardless of locking on a specific spot or not. Locking on during combat is just a way to avoid the troublesome turning issues with the control screen when in the heat of the moment. I can see why some people absolutely loved this control scheme to the point of buying the Metroid Prime trilogy released for the Wii as well as this game. I am just sorry to say that even when I had a Wii, I did not feel this control scheme was all that much better than what I got used to with the previous two Metroid Primes. I know we're still pretty early in this game, but I can confidently say there's a reason that the first Metroid Prime felt like the best of the trilogy. The first game was a well-constructed take on shift in Metroid from 2D to 3D. The other two fell into differing traps of trying to improve upon that first game, but kind of unintentionally sabotaging part of the formula in the process of improving one or two aspects. And great, now I can't help feeling I miss when we needed the lightning gun to deal with energy-based foes. These days all we need is the charge beam. Though, I think I said this before a few times over the course of the Metroid Prime trilogy. It's funny how the charge beam feels like a completely critical part of Samus's arsenal in the 3D games, but entirely forgettable in the 2D ones. This isn't even trying to be a puzzle. It's just more motion control stuff for the sake of going, look how awesome motion controls feel. kind of like that we can see the rain coming down in here, even if the ground isn't getting wet. It's actually kind of funny sometimes what visual effects make me go, oh wow, sometimes. Especially when I go into various older games. Bit of an odd way to gain a map for the area, but then we've had more arbitrary obstacles in the past, and we'll have a few more in this particular game. Okay, so now we've got 2 more landing zones on the planet, which possibly means we're going to have to travel to our ship in order to get to the next area. Certainly doesn't feel like we're going to keep moving forward from this position, that's for sure.
Distinct energy signatures. They must be supplying power to the siege shield. If these targets are eliminated, the shield will be removed.
And I assume that once we destroy those shield generators, that the final landing zone on the planet will open up. Okay, the way the game is just zipping from one map to the next as it points to the 2 very separate objectives is making it tough to say anything about the terrain we might have to choose to go through. And now I can't help thinking of Metroid Fusion and Dread again, since when they gave us objective points via Adam talking to us, it was 1 point at a time. Hell, the hint system in the previous Metroid Primes would also only lead to 1 place at a time on the map instead of pointing to 2 very separate places and 2 very separate sectors. Assuming, of course, that the damn hint system actually triggered. Okay, what fresh attack are we going to have to deal with right now? Should I ask how these bugs managed to shut the gates on this bridge? A bridge that will never melt in any way. Okay, not enough durability on each of these guys to call them mini-bosses. Apparently, there's only going to be 2 at a time. No risk of these especially durable hoppers swarming all over us in this narrow passage. And good God, this does not feel desperate enough to me to feel like using the hyper mode is justified. The only reason I might want to turn on that hard mode here is simply because the enemies on hard mode would be more damage spongy. Not that they're especially more dangerous in terms of how they attack or how they move. Well, okay, they also hit a little harder, but... anyway, we're done with that, so back to heading towards our ship. Kind of funny how completely unconcerned I felt over what the game probably felt would be a major encounter as we leave for a fresh objective. I know we haven't traveled all that much on the ship just yet, but I still already miss the days when we could walk everywhere we needed to go. Or at least just take an elevator to get from point A to point B. I just prefer when things feel actually interconnected instead of us having to break the flow to transport to various different locales.